So since you're dealing with relationships and not all of them are marriages, you're dealing with all people across the spectrum. So the dating market, how have you seen the landscape change over the years, and what impact has this had on the way people approach relationships? Because that is like huge, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it in that sense it depends what age group you're dealing with, right? Um, when you talk about high schoolers dating, they actually start to date each other. They follow each other on social media before they even decide,
For-
do I want to talk to you? And then if I
Yeah,
like you through that, then we'll date, right? So that's a different wheelhouse that I personally don't have any experience in.
yeah.
Um, and then the dating world, I think for the mid 20s and 30s, it's a
It's nightmare fuel.
huh.
It's nightmare fuel.
Well, it's our world has shifted so much. I think, and I'm like you, I don't know everything. I'm still learning, and I have a lot of aha moments on a regular basis, which I love. Um, but God, women in the workforce is a huge variable that
Oh,
is
yeah.
still causing society to kind of recalibrate to that norm. It's affecting everything. It affects how we date, it affects our families. And so I think as women are stepping into their own sense of self and how much work they want to do and don't want to do, and if they have families, that's significantly affecting the dating realm because they're not just saying, "Oh yeah, you're good, you can provide. All right, let's get married. Let's have some babies," right? And then
Yeah.
I think as you get older, the older you are, those coping mechanisms that I mentioned in your first question,
Hmm.
uh, if you haven't realized that you have them and that they're not working anymore, we tend to dig them in like deeper. We dig our heels in, right? We're like, it's not me, it's you.
Yeah.
And then we keep
No, I've
carrying
seen
those
it.
patterns, and it's just a shit show.
Yeah. Well, to your point, I mean, uh, if by and large, if women are looking to date or marry, they're looking to date or marry somebody that can afford to take care of them. And if they have children, you have to have somebody that can afford you and also pay for the offspring and help raise them. So if you're a woman in the workforce and you're making this much, you're just not gonna choose a dude who earns less than you. And so the the sad reality, I think, is that for these women who are super alpha types, their pool of potential mates shrinks the better they do, or the more they earn, their pool of men that they can choose from, or that they will choose from, shrinks. You know,
But I'm
and
curious. I agree with that to an extent.
yeah,
Uh, I wonder also. I think not wonder. I think we can account for the variable that guys are a little challenged by a woman who earns more than them, right? So that's
well,
a
yeah,
that's a part of it too.
it is. It is. I read a book and it addressed that topic, and it says that, look, for the issue with that, and I think this guy made a lot of sense, is he said that over the years, it has there used to be, back in the old days, there were gender roles that were, fairly much conformed to, whether you agree with them or not. That was the norm. But starting in the '60s, and especially after birth control, and then after no fault divorce, where women could do all these things that they couldn't do before, society went along with that and said, okay, a woman can do this, she can do this, she can do this, she can do this, she can be anything, she can do anything she wants, right? Well, men were not afforded that same opportunity. We still have to be providers and earners and protectors no matter what.
Oh, it's
So
so
if
not
she's
fair.
doing that, so we didn't get all the other choices that, and it wasn't normalized for us to have those choices. So if you're a house husband and your wife is the bread earner, and you're like a stay at home house husband, that's still It's not as highly regarded as the boss babe, you know? And
You're spot
so
on.
there's no like one doesn't equal the other, you know? And
Well, and that's
and there
why.
are examples of it. I mean, there are examples of that, but they're few and far between.
Yeah. Well, and
Um,
that's why I use that word recalibrating, right? It's going to take a long time. When those norms have been around for so long, it's going to take a long time. And it's going to have to be something, honestly, I think that needs to be talked about. And I said that the family
oh
of
yeah.
origin side of things, that's a pattern, that's a behavior, that's a belief system, that's a whole thought process on a collective level that is slowly shifting a little bit, right? But you know,
Is
it,
it?
it, it's the fact that you and I are having this conversation tells us that it is, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
It's if
but
it's like I
but
said, it's minute, but the more
yeah.
that we shy away from these talks and the less that people look at and go, okay, this is what my family did and my family did and my family did for generations, but I don't want to do it anymore. That's the only way any of this stuff's going to change, really.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a free market, the one of the dudes that's on has got a really good channel on YouTube. He made he compares the relationship market as he says, look, a, a relationship as an entity is the uh, the arena where exchange of value happens, whether you want to see it that way or not. If you don't have something I want and I don't have something you want, there's no relationship because there's no exchange. We can't. There's no reason for us to connect at all. So until I think that you know, each side of this has something of value that the other one wants, then it's looking grim, as far as
Mm-hmm.
like creating that stuff. Um, I mean, and that's not to be pessimistic because like you can, as a man, the bar's pretty low, right? Get in shape, get your stuff together, have something going on, do something, you know what I mean? So
Uh-huh.
it don't just be a fat slob eating Cheetos and in the basement playing, video games all day.
Yeah, that
Like,
helps.
so you could, so it's so, you know, there's stuff that can be done where anybody can improve themselves, pick up
Mhm.
a book and read it, watch some good content like this, right? Um, so, on this line, what do you think about marriage rates declining? What do you think's driving that? Is the same thing driving that, or is it something else?
Yeah, I think it's all intertwined, right? You can also see that the studies have shown that there's less religious affiliations across the board, right? And so,
Right.
marriage in the past has been strongly linked to that. Um, and I think now, as people are starting to realize that there is a little bit more freedom, and from the gender sides as well, right? Like we said with the woman, it used to be, I have a daughter, she's got to get married off, right? Somebody's got to take care of her. And I think now that that's not as much of a norm, um, you're going to see that decline. The other thing I think is that people people are afraid of losing their things. I think that's honestly a big part of it. Like, what if we get married and things don't work out, right? We got to pay for a divorce. You're going to take half my stuff, right? There's such a history with traumatic separations that it's just easier to stay separate, right? And it's crazy because that mentality in most relationships causes so much drama because there's a fear of really allowing yourself to be vulnerable with your partner, right? It's like, I don't want to fully connect our bank accounts. I don't want to put my name into something that your name's on because what if it doesn't work out, right? There's a fear of taking that chance and then losing things